Think you know America? Think again. From towns you've never heard of to distances you'll never guess. These are the US geography slip-ups Europeans always make. And, well, plenty of Americans, too. And if you're into these weekly map dives, hit subscribe. My group chat has already muted me for ranking European peninsulas. Number 50. America is big. It's huge. It's easy to look at a map and think the US and the European Union are around the same size, but you'd be wrong. The United States is roughly 3.8 million square miles, 9.8 million square kilometers, nearly twice the size of the EU's 1.6 million, 4.2 million square kilometers. Texas alone can swallow any EU country whole and still have room to spare. And if you want that dream American road trip, you better fill up on gas. New York City to San Francisco is over 2,900 miles, almost 4,700 kilometers. That's like driving from Vienna to Lisbon and back again. That sheer size makes America a land of extremes. Scorching deserts, snow-capped mountains, vast plains, and packed cities, all crammed into one country. And speaking of size, number 49, ask most people the biggest US state and they'll say Texas because, well, everything's supposed to be bigger in the Lone Star State. Wrong. Texas is big, but Alaska. It's twice the size and larger than France, Spain, and Germany combined. Texas clocks in at about 270,000 square miles, almost 700,000 square kilometers, but Alaska absolutely dwarfs it, packing in over 656,000 square miles, 1.7 million square kilometers. But despite all that space, Alaska is practically empty. Just over 700,000 people live there, fewer than in Brussels. So it's basically a country-sized wilderness with the population of a mid-tier European city. Number 48, when Europeans think about the Mississippi River, two things come to mind: how to spell it and its length. It often gets compared to the Danube, like they're in the same league. The Mississippi runs approximately 2,400 miles, 3,800 kilometers, making it nearly 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers longer than the Danube, which runs about 1,800 miles, 2,900 kilometers from Germany to the Black Sea. The Mississippi drains about 40% of the continental US. That's like rolling most of Europe's rivers into one. It's a river that shapes America's heartland, carrying barges loaded with grain, feeding farms with irrigation, and occasionally wiping out towns with floods. Yet, for many Europeans, it still gets brushed off as just America's version of the Danube. Number 47. European capitals or regional centers tend to be the largest and most prominent cities in the country. The US does things its own way. California's capital? Sacramento. Not LA, because size and movie stars don't win you the crown. North Carolina's capital is Raleigh, even though Charlotte calls the shots economically and culturally. And Illinois, its capital is Little Springfield. No, not the Simpsons one, while Chicago sits on the sidelines. In Europe, capitals usually hog the spotlight. Politics, money, and culture all crammed into one city. In the US, capitals were often chosen for history or compromise, not size. It's part of that federal habit of spreading power around instead of letting one city take all the glory. Number 46. Unlike Europe, where centuries-old towns are still buzzing with life, the US is scattered with ghost towns, literally thousands of them. These were boom towns that shot up almost overnight during mining rushes or railroad pushes. As the gold, silver, or jobs dried up, people bailed. Think of Europe's old market towns. If half of them had been abandoned and left to rot the moment the fairs, feasts, and public executions stopped. Take Bodie, California. In the 1880s, it had saloons on every corner and a reputation for wild shootouts. But once the mines went silent, the town emptied so fast meals were left on tables, completely untouched. Kinda like my mom's Thanksgiving dinners. Number 45. Russia might span 11 time zones, but the US holds its own. Counting territories, America officially stretches across 6 different time zones. The mainland alone runs on 4, Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific, and that's before you add Alaska and Hawaii Aleutian, which have their own zones. Toss in places like Puerto Rico and Guam, and the list gets even longer. For Europeans used to zipping across a continent mostly in 1 or 2 time zones, it's a shock to the system. In the US, flying coast to coast can mean losing 3 or 4 hours on the clock. It's like taking off in London and landing in Moscow, without ever leaving one country. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear about the Appalachians, but we'll get there soon. Number 44. Europeans often picture the US as non-stop city life. New York, LA, and skyscrapers on every corner, but out west in states like Nevada, Montana, and Wyoming, more like empty stretches of land and a lot of cows. Nevada, for instance, is about 5 times bigger than Belgium, but with a population of around 3 million. That's the same as the capital of Portugal, Lisbon. Out west, the land just stretches forever. Deserts, jagged mountains, and national parks where you can drive for hours without spotting a single house. It's less Europe, more Siberia. In Europe, every patch of land gets carved up by towns and farms. In the American West, it's just big skies, open roads, and a whole lot of nothing. Something most Europeans can't quite wrap their heads around. Number 43. California is a powerhouse. Nearly 40 million people, about the same as Poland, call it home. Its $4.1 trillion GDP would make it the world's 4th largest economy, slotting in just behind Germany and ahead of Japan. And in size, California's 164,000 square miles, 425,000 square kilometers, put it on par with Sweden. In one state, you've got snow-capped Sierra Nevada peaks, scorching deserts, fertile valleys, and megacities. Europeans sometimes picture the US as all the same, but California feels like its own continent. Mediterranean coastlines, alpine mountains, and desert frontiers mashed together. All it's missing is a medieval castle or two. Number 42. Let's talk measurements, because this is where Europeans really get whiplash. In the US, it's miles instead of kilometers, feet and inches instead of meters, gallons at the gas pump, and Fahrenheit on the weather report. So when Europeans see 30 degrees Celsius, they think scorching hot. Americans call the same thing 86 degrees Fahrenheit, which to some may sound like, maybe bring a sweater. It's the kind of mismatch that makes road trips, forecasts, and even ordering a soda feel like a puzzle. Europe sticks to one clean system. America, it's still clinging to its own. Part tradition, part stubbornness, and maybe just a little bit of, we like being difficult. Number 41. Canada gets all the fame as the land of lakes, but the US is stacked with them too, over 102,000 in total. Minnesota alone brags about being the land of 10,000 lakes, and some of those aren't just backyard ponds, they're massive freshwater seas. The Great Lakes, like Michigan and Superior, are so big they make whole European countries look like puddles. Lake Superior is bigger than Belgium or the Netherlands. This network of lakes plays a crucial role in America's ecology, economy, and recreation. Europeans often don't realize how much water defines US life until they realize some Americans own more boats than cars. So yeah, America is twice the size of Europe. Alaska makes Texas look like a starter pack, and the Mississippi is so massive it makes the Danube look like a hotel fountain. And we're just getting started. Number 40. Unlike European cities like Paris or Berlin, which sit inside larger regions, Washington, D.C. was built as its own federal district. That's so no single state could bully the national government. It's tiny, just 68 square miles, 177 square kilometers, way smaller than sprawling capitals like London or Rome. But within that small patch, you've got the White House, the Capitol, and the Supreme Court, the entire nerve center of American politics. Its very existence shows how differently the US does things compared to Europe, where capitals usually sprouted out of old kingdoms and historic regions. Number 39. In Europe, mountains aren't just for skiing or snapping selfies, they often double as borders between countries. In the US, the Rockies don't divide, they dominate. This massive range runs thousands of kilometers from New Mexico up through Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, and Montana. The Rockies form the Continental Divide, where rivers split east toward the Atlantic and Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, or west toward the Pacific. They impact weather, wildlife migrations, and even decide where people can live. In short, they don't just sit on the map, they run the show. Number 38. Europeans, and even some Americans, often assume New York City is the capital of New York State. Nope, that honor goes to Albany. With around 100,000 people, it's tiny compared to NYC's 8.5 million. Albany proves that size doesn't matter. It's where the legislature meets and the governor hangs his hat. In that way, it's a bit like Luxembourg City or Ljubljana in Europe. Small capitals flexing on everyone else. It's another reminder that US states often keep their politics and their money in different places. Number 37. Central Europe is known for its green valleys tucked between towering mountain ranges, the Rhine Gorge, the Danube Valley, usually 1,000 to 3,300 feet, 300 to 1,000 meters deep. Impressive, sure, but the Grand Canyon? Whole different league. At its deepest, it plunges more than 5,900 feet, 1,800 meters, and runs almost 280 miles, 450 kilometers long. Carved by the Colorado River over millions of years, the Grand Canyon drops into a raw, dry, almost alien landscape. Europe's valleys feel cozy by comparison. The Grand Canyon feels like the earth just cracked open. You don't really get it until you're standing on the rim, with your knees wobbling. Number 36. Miami is closer to Havana than it is to New York. It's just 230 miles, 370 kilometers across the water to Cuba, but nearly 1,200 miles, 1,900 kilometers up the coast to New York. That closeness shapes Miami's food, culture, and vibe. More tropical and Latin America than anything you'll find up north. For Europeans used to short hops between countries, it's a surprise to learn Miami's real neighbor isn't New York, it's Havana. New York might send tourists. Cuba sends the flavor. Number 35. Europe barely has deserts. The only true one is Spain's Little Tabernas. The American Southwest, a whole different story. The Mojave Desert alone sprawls across nearly 48,000 square miles, 124,000 square kilometers. That's bigger than Greece or Bulgaria, and it's just one desert. Add the Sonoran and the Great Basin, and you've got hundreds of thousands more. But they're not empty voids. They're alive with unique plants and animals, dotted with towns, and home to icons like Joshua Tree and Death Valley. Many Europeans don't realize how deserts play an important role in the US, far from being empty wastelands. They're a defining part of the country's geography and character. Plus, they're some of the only places where running into a cactus is a genuine travel hazard. Number 34. Hawaii is pretty lonely. Sitting nearly 2,400 miles, 3,800 kilometers southwest of California, it's planted in the middle of the Pacific, about 2/3 of the way to Japan. This is farther than the distance from Glasgow, Scotland to Moscow. And its isolation is basically its whole personality. And that's not a bad thing. It shaped everything from culture to climate to wildlife, mixing Polynesian roots with US influence. Yet plenty of Europeans think Hawaii is just off California's coast, right up until they're 5.5 hours into a flight stuck next to a screaming baby. So much for that relaxing getaway. Number 33. The Appalachian Mountains are basically the pensioners of America's mountain ranges. At over 480 million years old, they make Europe's Alps, just 65 million years old, look like toddlers. Once taller than today's Rockies, the Appalachians have been worn down over ages of erosion into the rolling hills and modest peaks we see now. Unlike the still-growing Alps or Rockies, these mountains are long past their growth spurt. To Europeans, they might look small, but they're among the oldest landscapes on Earth. Number 32. Europe has its headliner islands, like Sicily, Corsica, or the Greek Isles. The US might not have the same Mediterranean glamour, but it's secretly an island hoarder, with thousands scattered across lakes, rivers, and oceans. Some, like the Great Lakes archipelagos, are so big they could pass for small European countries. Others, like Washington's San Juans, feel more like cozy villages dropped into the sea. Along the Atlantic and Gulf coasts, barrier islands act like speed bumps for hurricanes, protecting the mainland while hosting beach towns that look one storm away from vanishing. Most of these islands barely show up on standard maps, but each comes with its own quirks, like tiny outposts where the ferry doubles as the school bus. They're hidden pieces of America's geography most Europeans never hear about. Number 31. In Europe, geography usually means countries with borders, flags, and centuries of history. In the US, it's a bit fuzzier. Regions have names like the Midwest, the South, New England, or the Pacific Northwest. They're not political lines, just cultural shorthand. So Illinois counts as Midwest, while Texas flies the flag of the South. And those two couldn't be more different in climate, culture, or economy. It's America's way of making sense of a huge, mixed-up landscape. Think of it like Europe ditching borders and just calling France the wine belt or Scotland the cold, rainy bit. So America's the place where Albany beats New York to be capital, the Grand Canyon makes Europe's valleys look like ditches, and Hawaii turns out to be halfway to Tokyo instead of next to California. Of course it is. Remember, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's finish this ride together. Number 30. Some Europeans picture the US and Russia as worlds apart, but they're basically neighbors. In the Bering Strait, the Diomede Islands sit just 2.4 miles, 3.8 kilometers apart. Little Diomede for the US, Big Diomede for Russia. You can literally stand on one and wave at the other, though you'd be waving across the international dateline, so technically you're greeting someone tomorrow. In winter, the water freezes enough that you could, in theory, walk between the two, though it's probably not a great idea unless you like international incidents. Number 29. Death Valley in California doesn't just get hot, it also goes low. At 282 feet 86 meters below sea level, it's the lowest point in North America. Europe's lowest spot, the Caspian Depression in Russia, bottoms out at 92 feet 28 meters below sea level. Death Valley is a sun-baked furnace, famous for record-breaking heat and landscapes that look more Mars than Earth. It's one of those places where the valleys beat the mountains for drama, and where your car's AC better not quit on you. Number 28. Europe is dotted with crystal-clear freshwater lakes, some fed by glaciers. Utah's Great Salt Lake? Total opposite. Its salinity can hit 10 times that of the ocean. Basically the Dead Sea draped in stars and stripes. The lake grows and shrinks with the seasons, sometimes ballooning to almost 1,700 square miles, 4,400 square kilometers, bigger than Berlin. It's teeming with brine shrimp, packed with migratory birds, and even turning pink when microbes bloom. And don't worry if you can't swim. You'll float, whether you like it or not. Number 27. Wyoming, the least populated U.S. state. It's got less than 600,000 residents, fewer than Luxembourg, but it's bigger than the entire United Kingdom. That means wide open spaces where the population density is so low, you're more likely to bump into a moose than a neighbor. And it's not just Wyoming. Vermont and even Alaska have populations on par with tiny European states. For Europeans used to tightly packed towns and cities, it's jarring. Here you can drive for hours without seeing another human being. In America's emptiest corners, rush hour is just a tumbleweed rolling across the road. Number 26. If you're a fan of bling, grab a shovel and head to Arkansas. Crater of Diamonds State Park is one of the only diamond-producing sites on Earth open to the public. Visitors hunt for gems like amethyst, jasper, and diamonds, and whatever you find, you keep. That's wildly different from the rest of the world, where diamond mining is industrial, fenced off, and locked down. Here specifically, it's a tourist attraction. 91 acres, 37 hectares of dirt, where anyone can strike it lucky. For Europeans used to diamonds sitting behind glass cases in Brussels or Antwerp, the idea of kids pulling them out of the mud feels very American. It's a fun family day out, with the possibility of an early retirement. Number 25. Alaska is the most western state in the contiguous USA, and it's the most eastern. The Aleutian Islands stretch so far west they actually cross the 180th meridian, meaning a sliver of the US technically sits in the eastern hemisphere. It's one of the only places on Earth where going east from America literally takes you into the east. That's not Alaska's only geography trick. Parts of the state are closer to Russia than to its own capital, Juneau. In other words, Alaskans could get to Siberia quicker than they could drive to their governor's office. You know, if there wasn't an ocean in the way. Number 24. Driving across Texas isn't a road trip, it's an odyssey. From El Paso in the west to Texarkana in the east is about 820 miles, 1,300 kilometers. That's nearly the same as Paris to Warsaw, a trip that takes you through multiple countries in Europe. In Texas, you're still in the same state, probably still arguing about what to order at the next barbecue stop. It's a reminder of just how massive some US states are, bigger than whole clusters of European nations combined. Number 23. Lake Superior lives up to its name. Covering almost 32,000 square miles, almost 83,000 square kilometers, it's the largest freshwater lake on Earth by surface area. That makes it bigger than Austria or the Czech Republic. Superior kicks up storms, sudden weather shifts, and waves over 30 feet 9 meters high, conditions Europeans don't usually associate with a lake. Straddling the US and Canada, it holds about 10% of the world's unfrozen surface freshwater, a vital resource that supports drinking water, commercial fishing, recreation, and biodiversity. It's more like a sea than a lake. Number 22. Europe packs dozens of countries, languages, and cultures across an entire continent. The US does the same, but spread across one country. A trip from New York to San Francisco takes you through all kinds of climates. Humid subtropical in the southeast, blizzards in the Midwest, and Mediterranean sunshine on California's coast. And it's not just weather. Accents, food, traditions, even politics shift dramatically, just about as much as crossing European borders. The South gave the world jazz and soul, the West cranks out billion-dollar tech startups, and in between, you'll find everything from deep dish pizza to cowboy rodeos. It's a reminder that America isn't one culture. It's a patchwork quilt stitched together, sometimes neatly, sometimes not. Number 21. Think of the Everglades, and you might think of gators. But this is no ordinary swamp. It's a subtropical wetland sprawling across 3,000 square miles, 7,777 square kilometers. Imagine slow-moving rivers of grass, mangroves twisting through the water, and wildlife ranging from alligators to manatees to flocks of exotic birds. European wetlands, by comparison, tend to be smaller, cooler, and tamer. The Everglades is warm, wild, and swampy. This ecosystem filters water, helps control floods, and shelters endangered species. For many Europeans, its sheer size and biodiversity come as a shock. After all, most hikes don't involve checking if you're on the menu for an alligator. Only in America can you wave at Russia across tomorrow, mine diamonds like it's a school field trip, and still be stuck in Texas arguing over barbecue. And we've still got more facts to come. Number 20. Europe has its celebrity volcanoes, Etna, Vesuvius, but Alaska has the numbers. With over 130 active ones, most cluster along the Aleutian Islands and the Alaska Peninsula, part of the infamous Pacific Ring of Fire. Eruptions like Mount Redoubt have blasted ash clouds thousands of kilometers and even grounded planes. And Mount St. Helens, just down in Washington, blew so hard in 1980 it took the top off the mountain. In Europe, volcanoes do make good tourist stops. In Alaska, they make your flight schedule a gamble. Number 19. From the towering hoodoos of Bryce Canyon in Utah to the delicate arches of Arches National Park, America is packed with rock formations you won't find anywhere in Europe. Millions of years of erosion, sediment, and volcanic tantrums sculpted landscapes. The Badlands in South Dakota are a highlight, jagged buttes and spires exposing layer after layer of fossilized history. Compared to Europe's more stable, predictable landforms, these places feel wild, colorful, and downright alien, leaving many Europeans wondering if they accidentally booked a trip to Mars. Number 18. Founded by the Spanish in 1565, St. Augustine is the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement on the US mainland. Sure, that's nothing next to Europe's capitals with Roman ruins in their basements, but it still beats the United States itself by over 200 years. Unlike Europe's cities, which grew slowly, many American cities popped up fast around colonial outposts like St. Augustine. Head west and you'll find Santa Fe, founded in 1610. It's the oldest state capital in the country. Its history blends Spanish colonial roots with Native American traditions. While Europe does ancient, America does colonial startup. Number 17. Stretching roughly 5,500 miles, 8,900 kilometers, the US-Canada border dwarfs any European counterpart. For comparison, the border between France and Spain spans just 387 miles, 620 kilometers. The massive border cuts across forests, lakes, prairies, and even Inuit Arctic lands, and yet it's mostly unfortified. It's the longest peaceful border on Earth. People literally commute between countries on a daily basis. It's so chill, you could cross from one side to the other while holding your coffee. Number 16. Think America is all wide open spaces? Not in New Jersey. With around 1,300 people per square mile, 502 per square kilometer, it's denser than Denmark or Hungary. Nearly 9.5 million people are crammed into this small state, which feels less like land of the free and more like land of the claustrophobic. In short, New Jersey isn't farmland America. It's rush hour Europe, but with better bagels. Number 15. The US is laced with continental divides, natural lines that decide which ocean a river ends up in. The most famous is the Great Divide, slicing from New Mexico through the Rockies into Canada, sending some rivers west to the Pacific and others east to the Atlantic. But there are others. Northern Alaska drains into the Arctic, while Utah's Great Basin rivers don't make it anywhere. They just fizzle out into salty lakes or vanish underground. Europe's system, way simpler. Most rivers head for the Atlantic, the North Sea, or the Mediterranean. America's rivers wander like lost tourists. Europe's flow like they actually read the map. Number 14. We've talked a lot about the US's size, but it's seriously huge. Take the Great Plains, an uninterrupted grassland covering about 1.1 million square miles, 2.82 million square kilometers. That's bigger than most European countries combined. Stretching from Canada down into Texas, it's the kind of endless flat horizon many Europeans have never seen. The plains shaped American agriculture and history, but their sheer scale can feel surreal. For visitors used to Europe's rolling landscapes, it's less pleasant countryside drive and more "are we there yet?" on repeat. Number 13. The US officially recognizes 574 Native American tribes. Each has its own languages, cultures, and traditions spread across the country. The Navajo Nation alone is about the size of West Virginia, while smaller tribes span the Northeast and Alaska. These nations hold sovereignty rights, self-governance, control over their lands, something almost unheard of in Europe, where only a handful of minorities have official status. But that recognition came after centuries of forced removals, broken treaties, and survival against the odds. Yet, many Europeans still overlook this reality, picturing America as highways, cities, and landscapes, while forgetting the hundreds of nations within the nation. Number 12. Europe zips between cities on high-speed rail. The US, it flies. With huge distances and limited passenger rail, planes are the only practical way to cover ground fast. Millions of Americans board domestic flights daily, bouncing between hubs like Chicago, Atlanta, New York, and LA. Geography plays a big role. Major cities are separated by hundreds or even thousands of miles, and the train system just can't compete. Europe's dense rail web keeps air travel secondary, but in the US, Amtrak and regional lines are slow, limited, and often feel like afterthoughts. So while Europeans might hop a train for convenience, Americans head for the airport. Flying is woven into US travel culture, part necessity, part habit. Just make sure you get used to hearing that your flight is delayed. Number 11. One of America's strangest natural wonders hides in Death Valley, California. Here, massive rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, mysteriously moonwalk across the flat surface of Racetrack Playa. For decades, nobody knew how. No people, no animals, no tricks, just rocks on the move. But scientists recently cracked the mystery. Under rare, cold conditions, thin sheets of ice form, and with a good push from the wind, the stones glide slowly across the playa. We're down to the top 10, and we've already toured states packed tighter than Europe, rivers that can't pick an ocean, and plains that stretch like an endless screensaver. Ready for some more? Number 10. The Four Corners is the only place in the US where 4 states, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico, hang out together. There's even a marker where visitors can sprawl out, a hand or foot in each state at once. It's one of those rare occasions where borders were drawn as straight lines of latitude and longitude instead of following rivers or mountains. Europe's borders are different. They're shaped by history, wars, and natural features. Number 9. Maine is the oddball of US geography. While most states rub shoulders with half a dozen neighbors, Maine only has one state friend, New Hampshire. The rest is ocean on one side and Canada on the other. That setup gives Maine a split personality. To the southeast, its Atlantic coastline is all fishing villages, lighthouses, and postcard harbors. To the north and west, it shares long borders with Quebec and New Brunswick, tying it closely to Canada. It's the only U.S. state where you can eat world-class lobster rolls by the sea one day and drive a few hours inland to find road signs switching to French. Number 8. Kentucky's Mammoth Cave. Lives up to its name. It's the longest cave system on Earth, with more than 426 miles, 685 kilometers of mapped passageways, and explorers are still adding new sections. No European cave system comes close. Inside is an underground labyrinth of twisting tunnels, vast chambers and rivers packed with stalactites, stalagmites, and even fossils of ancient creatures. It's even a UNESCO World Heritage Site, attracting countless visitors every year. The rumors of mole people are unconfirmed, though. Number 7. In Florida's Everglades and southern wetlands, rotting plants have an important job. They release natural oils that spread across the water's surface. When sunlight hits, those oils create shimmering, rainbow-like reflections, turning swamp water into liquid tie-dye. For first-time visitors, the effect looks like pollution, but it's the opposite. Unlike the oily slicks Europeans might expect from an American factory spill, these rainbow pools are signs of a thriving ecosystem. Number 6. New Orleans is one of America's oldest and most recognizable cities. Shaped by French and Spanish colonial rule, it joined the U.S. in 1803, and that influence still lingers. Wrought iron balconies, colorful Creole townhouses, and the winding streets of the French Quarter give it a look unlike anywhere else in the country. Cajun and Creole dialects mix French, African, and American influences into something you won't hear anywhere else. And the food! Gumbo, jambalaya, beignets, history lessons you can eat. Then there's the music. Jazz was born here, blues and brass bands thrive here, and the city's soundtrack spills straight into the streets. Europe built castles. New Orleans, they built good times. Number 5. Michigan is a state split in two. The upper and lower peninsulas are separated by the Straits of Mackinac. Few U.S. states have this kind of double life. The two halves are stitched together by the Mackinac Bridge, a suspension giant stretching nearly 5 miles 8 kilometers and ranking among the longest in the world. Michigan also sits at the heart of the Great Lakes. Lake Michigan is the only one entirely inside the U.S., while Superior, Huron, and Erie all spill over into Canada. Michigan is proof that even states can have identity crises. Number 4. Europe sometimes relies on history when naming its towns and cities. American towns, they just lean into the weird. Truth or Consequences, New Mexico got its name in 1950 after a radio show dared a town to adopt the title. Y, Arizona was named for a Y-shaped highway intersection. And that's just scratching the surface. There's also places like Intercourse, Pennsylvania, and Accident, Maryland. These names come from puns, local jokes, or marketing gimmicks, and a wicked sense of humor. Europeans, used to towns named after saints, monarchs, or thousand-year-old landmarks, sometimes look at a US map and wonder if half the country was named by stand-up comedians. The UK might not be too surprised, though. Number 3. Every U.S. state is divided into counties, except Louisiana. Here, they're called parishes. The name dates back to French and Spanish colonial days when the Catholic Church drew the lines. And when Louisiana joined the U.S. in 1812, it just shrugged, said meh, and kept them. That old quirk still shapes Louisiana's law, politics, and culture today. In Europe, a parish usually means Sunday service. In Louisiana, it also means jury duty and tax bills. Number 2. In Pennsylvania's Gravity Hill, cars in neutral look like they're rolling uphill. Visitors swear it's magic, or maybe ghosts giving a push. In reality, it's an optical illusion. The horizon, trees, and slope of the road trick your eyes into flipping downhill into uphill. Science explains it, but it still feels eerie. That's why local legends talk about haunted children, restless spirits, or supernatural forces at work. These gravity hills pop up across the US, turning into quirky roadside attractions where road trippers stop to test their cars. They exist in Europe too, but they rarely make it onto tourist maps. In America, they get their own parking lot and a gift shop. And finally, number 1. San Francisco's geography stirs up non-stop weather drama. Cold, wet air off the Pacific gets funneled into the bay, draping the city in fog that clings to bridges and hills almost year-round. Locals even named it Carl, and naturally, it has its own social media. Europe has misty mornings. San Francisco? Its fog is an influencer. Can't say that about many places. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. Really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MatPack.